Hi guys, welcome back to Iggy's Toy Parade and Soldier Review. This, of course, is your host Iggy, and today we're going to look at some pieces that I threw together from Ideal Toys, Marx, CTS, and BMC. So where should we begin? Now, this is what I put together here represents a fort on the Oregon Trail or California Trail or the Mormon Trail, only it doesn't. This is what they look like in our imagination. But if, for instance, if you look at Bent's Fort in Colorado, it looks like a French Foreign Legion fort. And other forts like Fort Laramie, Fort Kearney, and other forts, some of them didn't even have a stockade. But because of Westerns made in the 1950s, this is what we expect to see when someone says a fort. So this is kind of fictional. Well, kind of. It is fictional, but it's fun. And it's what we picture in our imagination when we picture the Old West. A lot of forts were made out of adobe, or they didn't have a stockade at all. A lot of them were just open parade grounds surrounded by some buildings, stables, and whatnot. The Native Americans were not very fond of attacking forts. However, there is a couple instances of them attacking a fort, and their reason for doing so was to steal horses, not necessarily to uh, kill the soldiers. They were just there to get horses. As soon as they grabbed the horses, they were out of there. Um, the Indians pretty much had a culture that didn't have time or the inclination to collect things that they just didn't need. And things they needed, such as a horse, they were interested in. It was sort of an austere existence for them because there wasn't much luxuries. Uh, they did have settlements, but they didn't last very long. They were more nomadic in their approach to life, following the buffalo herd and other game animals. All right, so let's take a look. Enough of my rambling. By the way, I have a painting of. I'm in my cowboy kitchen. You can't really see it in this painting, but there's a long wagon train behind the wagon master, and it's Bent's Fort, which was built in 1833. And it's on this illustration, it almost looks like a white blob in the very far, not quite to the river, but close to it. I think this was done by Charles Russell. All right, so first up is a Conestoga wagon, and this I got from CTS Toys, or Classic Toy Soldiers. And this one is pulled by oxen. Now, oxen lost favor as draft animals. They got replaced by mules and horses because oxen didn't have the same kind of stamina as a horse or an oxen. I mean, as a horse or a mule. So eventually they got replaced. But in the early 1800s, you would have seen wagons pulled by oxen. They were more suitable for like pulling a plow because, of course, they were very strong, had very strong shoulders. In the background, you see a fence, which would have been common in the early 1800s. And this came from the BMC Gettysburg playset. And I just threw them in here because I found them in the storage tub. And so I haven't showed these, so I'll just throw these up here. It's doubtful if they would ever build a fort and then put something like that in front of it. Although I would, because I would want maximum security. This stockade piece with the firing loops, and there's also a port for a garrison gun, or naval gun, I guess it's also called. And that's made by Classic Toy Soldiers and fits perfectly with the Marx stockade pieces. And I didn't put this together too well. Like, this piece here is going to fall over any second now. And this one too, because they're just resting on there. Okay, let's move our wagon for just a moment. You know, it's funny, when I was looking at pictures of Bent's Fort, they actually had a wagon just like this, but it was parked in front of the fort wall, over like this, on this side. Did I mention that the fort looked more like a French Foreign Legion fort? Like something you'd see in Algiers or Morocco or something? Actually, well, of the accessories that Marx made for their playsets, I really love their wagons. I always thought I never had any when I was a kid, but of course the neighbors had them, and they were brothers, Mark and Neil. They were always fighting with each other, and really violently too. In fact, Mark, I think I told you the story when we found a razor blade and Mark cut my face open with it. I came home and I didn't start crying until I got home, and my mom came to the door and she saw me, and I could see by her look that it was pretty serious, and I started crying. In the background here is what I really wanted to show you. These other pieces I just threw together to try and make this a little more interesting. But this is a trading post. Can you see it, what it says there? It's a trading post, and it was made by Ideal Toys. Now, of course, Ideal Toys is defunct now. They got swallowed. I think it was Mattel that swallowed them up. I think I did a video about that. But a lot of toy companies got bought out and then just vanished from the landscape. But this trading post is pretty cool. It appears to be a 60 millimeter fort. I wish I had some soldiers to compare the sizes here for you. But it appears to be like a 60 millimeter. It has a detailed interior, which I'll show to you in a minute. I know that once I move this, everything is going to collapse. So that's why I wanted to show you everything first. A detailed interior. However, it's missing a door, and the back of the building is open. And I don't know if it's because this is a reproduction and they didn't make all the pieces, or if this is how they originally made it. I'm not sure. I want to show you this gun port too. Let's see if I can open it for you. There we go. See that? And you can put a naval gun in there. And you can also close it if you like. I like this piece because in the front of the fort, it's kind of cool to have your cannons and also these firing loops. I like that too. Not all the Marx stockade pieces had a firing step. Some of them were like this one back here. Notice that one has a step, but the one in the back does not. All right, let's take the fort out. I mean, the trading post out. Now, Bent's Fort was created as a trading post for trappers, fur trappers, Arapaho Indians, and also Cheyenne. And they would come in with whatever they had to trade. Maybe get foodstuffs or rifles or whatever it was that they. See, that was what I was afraid of. Okay, let's bring this out. The roof doesn't fit on it very well, I noticed. It's got a bear skin on the. It's kind of creepy. You know, putting a bear skin on your floor or whatever for decoration. I don't think I'm into that. Now you can see here. Let's bring it in. And we'll swing around. The fireplace is on this side. Let's see if I get my hand in there. No, not going to work. Okay, and here's a view of the roof. This is a nice little detail, these boards that they have across there like that. I wouldn't mind having a place like this. Of course, I would say that because I don't own my own place. But still, I wouldn't mind having a stockade fort. I think that would be fun. Or a castle, or a French Foreign Legion, any kind of. I've always, ever since I was little, I've always liked forts. And my mom was a little bit of a hoarder, what I call a organized hoarder, because our place never looked messy, but my mom had stuff hidden all over the place. And in the garage, especially, my poor dad never got to park his car in the garage because it was choked with you name it. Anyway, our garage was full. Mom was using it as a storage space instead of a garage. And what I did is went into the garage and I rearranged boxes and all this other stuff. And I created a secret fort in the garage. When you looked at it, the washi, oh my God, the washing machine and dryer were in the garage, and Mom would come out and she didn't even know we were there. And we're trying to keep ourselves from laughing. A couple times I heard my mom say, "Is there anyone there?" Because she heard us giggle. And then we'd be really, really quiet. But to get into the fort, you had to crawl under a chair. And then there was a pathway between all the boxes that led to a den. And it was completely concealed. It just looked like boxes and storage, the typical things people put in storage, like old bicycles, barbecue grills, you name it, old chairs, old furniture. Mom would not throw away anything. Part of that is because of her upbringing during the Great Depression. My dad, on the other hand, was just the opposite. He would get rid of everything. In fact, when my brother had moved to Maryland. He got a job with the Postal Service as a postal inspector, and he moved to Washington, D.C. and lived in Maryland. Anyway, my dad found his American Flyer train set, and we were having a garage sale, and this guy asked about it, and my dad just gave it to him. And an American Flyer train set, a complete train set that was operational. I know for a fact because I operated it myself. Um, was worth thousands of dollars, and my dad just gave it away. When my brother found out, he was really upset. He still is a little upset over it. Now, his son, Greg, he tried to make my brother feel better by buying him a Lionel train set for Christmas. And I felt sorry for Greg because it was quite obvious that my brother just wasn't interested in it because it wasn't American Flyer. Anyway, I told you about the other fort we had where we dug a trench and covered it with 2x4s and cardboard and then covered it with dirt. And it connected a cabin that we built from scrap lumber that we found. And we had a tent that we got for Christmas. Well, my brother got it for Christmas, my brother Ron. And we had the trench go into the tent on one end and the cabin on the other end. It was pretty cool until Mom came out looking for us and fell through the roof of the trench. Luckily, she didn't break her ankle because my brother and I would have gotten in a lot of trouble. Anyway, it was a cool fort, and I've always enjoyed forts. I remember when I was 14, my parents went out to Thousand Oaks because we were going to move from the valley, and because the where we were living was starting to get dangerous, especially at school. And they were going to move out to Thousand Oaks, California. And there was a development there that built a small little fort that had had one of these on the top and had a gate and everything. And I do have the gate to this, but it's in storage again. You knew I couldn't go through a video without saying storage. Storage? Yes, surprisingly, storage. Oh, please, you're such a bore. Um, and that was really cool. Even when I was 14, I wanted to play in that. And I found out years later that it was still there. I remember taking my wife there and taking pictures. And I took some friends there. And then the last time I went there, it was surrounded by a fence, chain link fence with a locked gate. And then the very last time I went, it was completely gone. They tore it down. I guess the wood started to get rotten or something. I really loved that fort on Tom Sawyer Island at Disneyland, but I'm told they tore that down too. The one at Disney World in Florida is still there as of 7 years ago. I don't know if it's still there now, but I remember they had these guns in the one of the they had a blockhouse tower like that, and they had gun loops, and you could fire these guns. They would swivel and they would make gun noises and stuff. And I was all excited, pointing the gun everywhere, firing at trees, at a canoe filled with people who didn't pay any attention because it wasn't a real gun, of course. And this little kid said, "Hey, mister, give us kids a chance." Because I dominated the thing, and I got really embarrassed, and I kind of slinked off because I just thought it was kind of sad that an adult was sitting there playing like that when there was kids who were anxious to play. Anyway, I gave it up, and they were happy. All right, guys. Well, that's all I got for you. Quick review: a Marx style wagon made by CTS, the BMC farm fences, a lot of fences in. There's a book, I think it's by a guy named John Sloan, or I know Sloan is his last name, and he has all these illustrations about what America was like in the early 1800s and how they made bridges, how they did fences, how they built homes, tools, everything. It's a really cool book. I recommend it to you if you're interested in pioneer life. I can't remember his first name. I was thinking he was John, or Eric or something. Anyway, I can't remember. Uh, so then we have the Ideal Trading Post. I think this is still available. Of course, this is a repro. And you still can get these Marx uh, Stockade pieces also. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. I want to thank you for getting Iggy with it. Why not join the Iggy Army? My next video, I think, is either going to be a Hot Wheels rally case for carrying case for your Hot Wheels cars, or it's going to be 1990s Millennium Falcon and AT-AT, a couple AT-ATs. I used to have original vintage Millennium Falcon, and I gave it to a guy at work. This is a sad thing too. I'm so desperate for a friend that I do stuff like that. And the guy just didn't want to be my friend. We had a lot in common, but just wasn't interested in going to movies with me. I guess he thought I was going to talk through the movie or something, which I don't do, by the way. It's really annoying when you go to a movie and someone's talking or laughing behind you, and you're like, the worst is when I went to see Schindler's List, and they have the camp victims lined up, and one of them gets shot in the back of the head, and these kids were laughing, and I thought, oh my God. Anyway, I don't talk at movies. And if you have to bribe someone to be your friend, they're never going to be your friend. And it's the same thing with a woman. If you think you need to give her flowers or buy her jewelry or whatever, she's not into you, and you know it, and that's why you were trying to buy her with flowers. It doesn't work. Trust me on this. A girl will let you know if she likes you. You don't have to guess. Okay, so that's all. A little bit of advice for free, which is probably useless, but there it is. Okay, guys, that's it. Why not hit the subscription button, the like button? That helps me, It lets me know that you guys what you're interested in. I know from experience that I don't know why, but you guys just aren't into 1/6 scale figures that much. The least amount of views I get are with 1/6 scale, and 1/6 scale is my favorite. But I still put it up because you need to follow your heart sometimes, even if nobody else does. Also, another thing I noticed you guys aren't into is Star Trek and Star Wars. Um, I'm interested in those things too, but I don't present a lot of it because, my vintage Star Wars and Star Trek, I had to sell all of it. So, anyway, that's it for this time, okay? And I'll see you on the Oregon Trail, or maybe the California Trail, or the Mormon Trail. I don't know, but we'll meet up. How about if I say the Dusty Trail? That would be a cool cowboy name. What's your name, partner? Well, my name is Dusty Boots. I thought you said your name was Dusty Trail. I did, but then when I had a second to think about it, I thought Dusty Boots sounded like a better cowboy name. All right, guys, take care of each other. Take care of your home. Take care of your collectibles. Take care of your wallet. Bye. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Keep on smiling until then.